Hello, everyone. I am so happy to have Laura. Laura, is it Alessio? Am I saying?
Yes.
Alessio. Okay. Well, Laura is an RN and a health and wellness coach. And we met at a really amazing event a few months back in San Diego. It was a healthcare event that brought healthcare providers from all over the world together to learn more about how really about the power of our minds and how that can impact our bodies. And it was through the work of Joe Dispenza. And so I know some of you have heard me talk a little bit about Joe Dispenza's work, but it was really great, wasn't it, Laura, to be in kind of a more intimate group of healthcare practitioners that are really excited about how our brain and how our thoughts and how our mind can impact really our physiology. And yeah.
Yes, it was so special just to be able to come together, like you said, from all over the world, healthcare providers who had completed Dr. Joe's In Your Health Coalition course. It almost felt surreal. Like I have been to many nursing conferences and always enjoy the in-person connection, but this was different because it was such a variety of healthcare providers, not just nurses. So it was really, neat to hear different people's experiences, work that they do, and like Dr. Joe says, reading in 3D is really, a special opportunity.
It really was. One of the things that touched me too was hearing, like you said, so many types of practitioners, people that work in hospital settings or in their own practices, just such a range, and how when they were really opening up and talking about healthcare burnout and the impact that that's had on on them, and how as healthcare providers we go into this work with an idea is more of a calling. So many people that I've met and talked with over the years, it's really such a calling to in no matter what type of work you're doing, whether again you're a doctor in the ER or you're a home health aide, caregiver working in someone's home, and all of the range in between. People have it's such sacred work, and it was really neat to talk to people at that conference about how to bring the sacred back into healthcare, and how do you continue to hold that space with your patients and your clients. And so yeah, so I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today because you are a nurse, and the work that you do now, you and I have talked a little bit, but is such a beautiful focus on mindfulness and changing help. Well, I don't want to put words into your mouth, so let me just ask you to maybe just tell us all a little bit about the work that you do, and I'm going to throw in a little bonus question. I'm really curious what brought you into this work.
Good question. So mindfulness really had been something that I was exposed to. Well, I was back in 2006 when I was training for a triathlon. I remember one of our teammates had suggested we do a restorative yoga class on our off day, like our rest day in between training. And I remember going and being so absolutely bored out of my mind. So I'm so used to doing a lot of high impact activity. But the more that I did it, the more that I enjoyed it, and the more that I realized, like, to me, that was pretty much like my first introduction to mindfulness. And it's just such a slow pace, and you're really focusing, you know, one thing at a time, one breath at a time, and being so present with yourself. And so over time, I took different courses learning more about mindfulness, and then I did a yoga teacher training, and we had a portion of that I did. We learned a little bit about mindfulness and meditation there as well. And for the longest time, I was trying to figure out how to incorporate that into my work as a registered nurse. And so about 2 years ago, I learned that there was this career called nurse coaching. And you could also become board certified as a holistic nurse, which I never really knew existed. It's not really what they teach you in nursing school. Is usually, they expect you to go work at the bedside in the hospital. And so, anyways, fast forward to now, I've just really become so passionate about mindfulness and meditation, and have seen how beneficial it can be, not only in my professional life, but my personal life. And so I now have a free Facebook group, Stress Less with Mindfulness, where I have it's a safe space and community for like-minded people who either want to learn about mindfulness or want to incorporate more mindfulness in their day-to-day lives, and really just coming back, to presence and seeing how helpful it could be to really slow down. Like, one of the phrases I remember learning in my nurse coaching program was slow down, speed up, which is so kind of counterintuitive from what, as a society, you know, people are on the gun, busy, and it's kind of like this mentality, like the more you're doing, the better you're doing. But the reality is that the more you slow down, the more your body and your brain have that time to allow for like new information, new ideas to come in. And I think that's so needed as healthcare providers, of course, to prevent burnout, but also to be able to share that with their clients and their patients. And so I feel like I'm kind of going on now. I forget what the question was.
No. This is super helpful. It's also interesting, as you were talking, as I was thinking about how caregivers, like dementia caregivers, we often think about what is happening. We ask the question, what's happening in someone's mind who has dementia? And, no, we will never really know for sure. But one thing that we all can agree on is, and of course, depending on the type of dementia that someone has, a common symptom is losing your memory. And I've often reflected on this piece of, if I don't have reflection of the past, and maybe I'm challenged with putting together steps to move forward in the future, all I have is the present moment. And so it's sort of ironic in a way, and I can see so beneficial if you want to connect with your loved one who's living in that world, whatever state your loved one might be living in. That what a beautiful way to connect is to just come into the present moment with yourself and be mindful of what is in front of you and what is happening. But I'm jumping ahead a little bit, and I'm wondering, for our listeners that may not be as familiar with mindfulness, if you could explain what that means to you, because I think that word is used very loosely, and maybe it is meant to be loosely. But what is your idea of mindfulness and what it is?
Or it's a great question, because I feel like a lot of people think mindfulness is like, you're sitting cross-legged with your eyes closed and your hands in a certain position, and everybody's reminding, clients and people in my community that that's not how mindfulness has to look. There's no one way that it has to look. Mindfulness can simply be like when you're eating a meal and being mindful about, not having your screen in front of you, or a TV, or, your phone or something, being really present with, hopefully you have someone that you can share the meal with that you're eating. But really coming back to the present and thinking about like where your food that you have on your plate has come from. Because so often we just, like whip a meal together and we just eat it and don't think about like how much, how many steps it took for that food to get to where it is in front of us. And really just being mindful of the taste of the food and the texture and being fully present in the moment where you are. So often we're, whether that's was just one example, eating, but like we're in this society so fast paced. So, infrequently do we have the time to really slow down and think about like, oh, driving a car, like everything, so many things are on autopilot. So just really slowing down and being present with where you are. Yes, of course, if you can, be mindful, like in a beautiful garden or on a beach or something like that, but it can be done anywhere.
Yeah, that's such a good point. Because I'm thinking about so many caregivers out there are either that your mind is racing. You're 10 steps ahead. You're having to pre-plan. You're worrying about this, you're planning that, you're strategizing something else, you're trying to circumvent something else from happening, all the while you're doing whatever you're doing. And I think caregivers have become masters at that opposite of mindfulness. Whatever that word is, multitasking, or being in 5 places at once in your mind.
Or it's funny that you say that because one of the other terms, oh, sorry, I was just going to say really quick, one of the other terms in my coaching program that I had, the other one was a phrase, but monotasking was brought up. And I had never even heard of this word, of course I know what it means, but we just always hear multitasking. So the thought of monotasking, like be present when you're doing that one thing.
I love that.
First, sometimes easier said than done, but go ahead.
Yes. Well, and that's what's so true, right? Is people that are living in that high stress state constantly, then and you kind of alluded to this, then you kind of go on autopilot too. So then there are times you're having to hold things together, you're aware that you're doing that, and then there are times that you fall into this space of autopilot where your brain is just doing that for you. You don't even have to try. You're already worrying, you're already planning, you're already anticipating what could go wrong, or so I can see the challenge. Maybe can you talk a little bit about brain wiring, that whole like wiring and firing that's going on in the brain with stress? I mean, just kind of touch on that for a second. Because I just want people to really understand that it doesn't mean that there's anything wrong with you, that you can't practice mindfulness, or that you struggle with it. It's just the way that you've wired your brain, and our brain can be rewired as well.
Course, that's a great question. And yeah, I mean, it goes back to what I was saying. Like, I was so bored when I did this restorative yoga, and it took me a long time to really, like, I did a few different, like, groups that were, offering meditation, mindfulness practices. And it's been a long journey for me to get to where I am today. And yeah, so to answer your question, as far as, we have our sympathetic nervous system and our parasympathetic nervous system. And for those who may not be familiar, the sympathetic, if you think about it, it's like the gas pedal in a car. So that's like, go, go, go. That's that multitasking mind. And then the parasympathetic is, if you think of like the brake in your car, that's your time to slow down. So, we all have the capability to be able to practice mindfulness. For some people, it may take longer than others for them to feel like they maybe have a good sense or grasping it. But like you were talking about before, the firing and wiring, and that the more we do it and the more that we practice, the more that we're going to, provide those connections in our brain to that they will be, formatted like a memory, almost like habit forming is. So
How
it's
nice. How nice would that be, right? To have that be your sort of autopilot.
right, right. Yeah, that sympathetic, like fight or flight on the gas pedal. Of course, we don't want to have that all day, every day, because that's gonna, keep us out of balance, out of like, homeostasis. And so we want to have the balance of the, with the parasympathetic, putting on the brake and slowing down and having that opportunity to rest and digest, as they call it. So of course, it is easier said than done, but with practice and with time and it reminds me of like Dr. Joe says, there's no such thing as a bad meditation. I would say the same for mindfulness. There's no such thing as a bad mindfulness practice. Like, yes, of course, there may be times when, I know that for myself, it happens too. We're only human. Like, I want to try to slow down and do a mindfulness or meditation practice of my monkey mind is going every which direction. Maybe it's not the best time to try to do it. Maybe you know, wait till later in the day or something. A couple hours pass by. You don't want to be like fighting it
Right, right. So yeah, creating that
or trying to
tension,
force it.
tension and resistance. Yes, yeah. Can you talk a little about so why would that be important? I mean, for somebody that again might be unfamiliar with what it is. And then we'll talk a little about what it actually looks like. I might have you describe some examples for us. But why would it be important? If one of our listeners, is a caregiver who is just living life the best they know how. They're just trying to do the right thing. They're using the tools that they have. They're barely keeping everything afloat. Why would someone like that benefit from mindfulness?
Or so the way I look at it is that it's like a form of self-care. So and the opportunity to be able to really slow down and be present and focus on a deep inhale and a deep exhale. And it's even if that's all you have, like in your moment of your busy day, say we're going to the break room or you're going from one patient to the next, just taking one moment to really take a deep inhalation, bringing in that fresh oxygen, and then letting out, sighing and letting go of stressors that, may have happened during the day. It's going to help in so many ways. Like I'm generally speaking, helping with heart rate and your body's level. Our bodies aren't meant to be going nonstop 24/7 in that fight or flight. So having the opportunity to slow down for our brains and our hearts and all of our organ systems is going to be so beneficial. And even if it doesn't seem like one breath, slowing down for one moment to take a deep inhale and exhale might not seem like it's really doing much, but it is. And I think, the more that we can do that, take those moments throughout the day or try to maybe do it at least once a day and then see how your body maybe feels different. Or maybe you notice that your stress is a little bit less or your mind is a little more calm. And again, I'm not saying it's gonna work immediately. It's a practice.
Sure. Well, what's crazy is even you describing it, I feel calmer. Like when you're describing taking a deep breath, inhale, exhale. I want to take a deep breath and
'Cause we don't think about it. We just, obviously, unless we're someone in the hospital and swooped up to, machine to help them breathe, we're just going through our day as we normally do,
how many
breathing
breaths? Yeah, how many breaths
subconsciously.
do we take a day? I've never even thought about that. We don't even think about it. And yeah. So, um, The other thing that I was thinking of when you were describing this is this piece of, people are often, they don't have time. I mean, some people may, and we can carve out time, but I know that for a majority of our listeners, they feel so guilty asking for help, um, and taking the time to get away and, do self-care, whatever that looks like for them, that um, it's not likely they're going to go to a mindfulness class or a meditation group or a yoga class, or if they do happen to get a break, they're going to be getting groceries or catching up on the things that their giant to-do list, or sleeping, the basics. And so I love what you were saying about kind of capturing these moments throughout the day, when you can. And your example was perfect. Just simply taking a deep breath in and then exhaling, and being aware of that is, that in and of itself is huge. What happened? And you kind of actually talk. So I guess what I want to hear you say, I'm hoping you'll say, is that does help. That does actually help. Like like me just stopping and taking a deep breath and tuning in for, not even a minute, will help me physiologically and psychologically. And
Yes, I mean, I don't necessarily have the research or, off the top of my head or know where it could be referenced, but I would put up a good fight with someone if they were to say wouldn't help you. And to your point about not having time, yes, I can totally relate. Like, yes, we all have busy schedules, whether it means, busy work, kids, family members to take care of, but we can always find time for mindfulness. Whether our to-do list means like needing to do groceries and needing to pick up kids, like this can be done in the car. This can be done in the elevator, going up and down, wherever floor. It's really simply coming back to the breath. And so, I mean, think about how helpful it could be in the car if you're in traffic, and just really coming back to, present and taking a deep inhale and exhale. And so, as busy as we are, we still can have time for mindfulness, because it could be done simultaneously while we're doing something else, like grocery shopping. Maybe it means we're being more mindful and aware of what we're choosing to put in our grocery cart. And like I mentioned before, going back to thinking like how incredible, how long this food has taken to get here, thinking about, the farm that it grew on, the crops. And I don't want to, might be a stretch for some people listening, but how often do we don't do that?
no,
We, in our, we,
slow down. Yeah.
We get our groceries, we get them in the fridge, we, get them cooked and eat them.
Yeah.
We're not really ever thinking about, the history of, that actual food that made it to our plate.
Yes.
And so mindfulness can be just that. And even if it's doing like, chores around the house, laundry, and maybe it sounds silly to some people, but yeah, like being mindful when you're folding the laundry up, rinsing, cleaning.
Yeah.
Like
Can you give us tips on what that would look like?
Sure. So, I mean, that could be, again, focusing on the breath, like deep inhales and exhales as you're doing the chores throughout the house. Maybe, if it's especially a chore that you don't like doing, like the dishes or vacuuming or sweeping or anything, or picking up after kids, just really, focusing and taking those deep inhales and exhales as you're doing it. And you might not feel an immediate impact right away in your body, if you're taking deep breaths as you're doing it. But hopefully, if you are able to maintain or continue to do it, it might seem to be not as stressful. I don't know. Another uh, thing for me is gratitude. And I think that gratitude is one of the most powerful things that we have. And it's like, no matter what, we always have something to be grateful for. We have our breath. So remembering that. And yeah, if we have this to-do list of things that we're just like dreading or, hate doing, it's really shifting the mindset a little or thinking about it in a way that's, yes, I mean, have these kids that make a mess in the house that I'm grateful that I have them when they're healthy or something along those lines.
Yeah. You're making me think of the importance of the thoughts that we're talking so much about how so many people get so good at the multitasking in the brain and the busy thoughts and the busy mind. And the other thing that I think of there is that we often identify with our thoughts. We think we are our thoughts. We literally believe that voice in our head and think it's us. And the words that we say to describe, I'm stressed or I'm tired or we're identifying with whatever program, we have programmed our brain to do and to think. And it's a concept that I've been thinking so much about for myself. I often will talk to my daughter about this piece of, you're not your feelings either. You're not your emotions. Emotions come and go, like the weather, comes and goes. You are not that weather, just the same with your thoughts. And so this mindfulness piece of bringing back the awareness that you are not your thoughts. You are not the chaos spinning around. And I can see that it would be so hard at first because we are so good at we've programmed ourselves to multitask and to have that experience. And so because we have neuroplasticity in our brain, we can change that too. And I think that that's a piece that I want people to really start. I just want to plant that seed, that it is possible to reprogram your brain and rewire, your brain and reprogram your thoughts. And those thoughts produce different emotions. And so to your example of folding laundry, we go on autopilot. That's a time where your body can do the task and your mind can do whatever it's used to doing. This is a beautiful new invitation to reprogram your brain when you're doing those mundane tasks, to bring yourself back to that moment. Yeah.
Yes, well, definitely. And over time, it's like a small, shift of the needle. But then over time, maybe you get to a point where you want to be your thoughts because your thoughts have become this, amazing visualization of like, I am calm, I am abundant, I am stress-free, I am, whatever, feeling an incredible mother, caretaker, caregiver. And so, yes, our thoughts and words are very powerful. So what we are telling ourselves constantly throughout the day, because, we have like 90,000 throughout the day and 80% I think are those same the next day. So
it's so true, right?
That cycle that we're feeding ourselves is almost like imprinted.
Yeah.
Into us.
We're really good at that, aren't we? Oh man. Yeah. So I was thinking about, even for myself, like what tips would you have to remind yourself? Okay, here's an example. I was trying really hard to change some negative self-talk, in my brain. But what happens, as everybody knows, as you well know, is you find yourself there. Like you enter that thought, and then I'm like 10 miles down the road before I realize I'm having that thought. And then it's like, oh crap. And then I'm like, okay, redirect it to something else. Do you have any advice on how to just remember to bring mindfulness in?
Yes, I think, well, there was actually a term that I learned. It's funny because I learned it for the first time about a month ago, and then I heard someone else say it like a week ago. It's funny how those kind of things happen and something, and then all of a sudden it's showing up more in your life. But it was the concept of she was talking about stopping those negative thoughts in your brain, and she referred to it as pattern interrupt. So if you have that thought, like, oh, I can't do this, or oh, I'm a failure, like once that negative thought comes in, trying to remember, stop that thought, not let it in or push it back out and pattern interrupt. So like almost like a timeout for your brain, and let's flip the script, or use the needle and reframe that. So to like, I can do this, or I find myself saying a lot like, I'm not tech savvy. Yes, and so on. I'll be out on it recently, like, okay, how about like not a tech savvy, or like I am tech savvy or something, like slowly getting to where you want to be. Like I'm learning about being more tech savvy, something like that.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
a little shift, not expecting like something realistic, not expecting, like a huge shift immediately, but just having that idea come into your mind, like, oh, let me, stop that thought and let me change it to make it a different thought, so that next time my mind, goes in that direction, and hopefully it will remember that I didn't want that thought coming in, and that we can, shift. And
I was doing because I always also try to reframe to the positive. I really try to be gentle with myself. And so I was doing this thing where I was catching it, and I was like, oh, good job, Laura. Laura, you have programmed your brain so well, it automatically has gone to these negative thoughts. Like, well done. You're good at that. And I'm good at programming my brain. Okay, that's good. Now that I'm aware I can program my brain, I'm gonna shift the script, right? We're gonna do a different program now. And yes, it's going to be a little challenging at first because I'm so good at programming that the old program got in there really well. Now we're shifting it. And then the other thing I was doing was, and I think I got this out of Dr. Joe's meditation, or him talking about meditations, is I congratulate myself for catching it. No matter how far gone I am in the thought, oh my gosh, I caught it. Like, even if I've been thinking of for an hour, I caught it. Like, just the fact that I brought awareness to it is huge. And then the next challenge is, let's try to catch it, a couple minutes earlier than last time, or a couple minutes, and then keep, moving that line a little bit. But that was really helpful for me too. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, the baby steps.
Baby steps, exactly. Yeah. So, Laura, tell us a little bit about your work, and what do you love about working with people in this capacity?
Yes, so I said, I'm a registered nurse. I've been a nurse since 2010, but I learned about this nurse coaching role a little over 2 years ago, and I immediately was drawn to it and wanted to learn everything I could about it. And it's really just become such a huge passion of mine. I truly feel like I can say I love what I do. And it feels like the reason I went into nursing to begin with, to truly be able to help people and make a difference in people's lives. So with my health and wellness nurse coaching, I work with clients who are looking to improve their health and wellness. And that could be, I'm still pretty general in who I work with. I do have a background in functional medicine, because that's part of my own health journey.
Me too.
Diagnosed with, okay, great. Yeah, I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's autoimmune condition back in 2017. And that was another reason that I was so interested in the nurse coaching when I heard about it. Because I was like, where were the nurse coaches when I in Houston with my Hashimoto's journey? My functional medicine provider was great, but I definitely could have used some extra support. And so, anyways, over time now have just become, now that I've been more exposed to Dr. Joe's work and had those, just magnificent aha moments and the experiences with mindfulness and meditation, like I mentioned, that have been so profound. I just want to share that with the world. So I love to operate mindfulness during my sessions with my clients. So up to them if they, want to do it. It depends on the client. Some want to have it like at the end of our sessions. You do like a 5-10 minute, or like in the middle or the beginning. And I just really love being able to see, like, kind of how you mentioned earlier, just feeling calmer when I was talking about breathing. I love to be able to see how clients benefit from the mindfulness. For example, one client had me and had been having some knee and hip pain, and we just really focused on those areas. And then at the end of the 30 minutes, she had said that she had no pain, and it was just like almost brought me to tears. It was just so rewarding and just incredible to be able to help people in that way, even remotely. And so
I love that so
I just
much.
loved
I can see how sorry, I know we have a little bit of a gap and I keep interrupting you. I wanted to say I can see how I want to say sacred this work is that you're doing, because what I'm hearing you say is that you are almost a guide in helping people remember their innate ability to tap into themselves, whether that is to bring themselves out of a chaotic state of mind, or alleviate pain, in some cases, or like that is something that means so much to me in this work, is that I think when human beings, when most people are exposed to high stress situations and states, that we lose, we can lose ourselves. We can forget how strong we are, how incredible we are, how much love we possess, how much wisdom we hold. And that's the fear sinking in, and losing our power and losing our knowledge of that. And I love just hearing you describe your work in the way that you're there to address those things that you may be presented with in someone's body or life experience, and that you're then guiding them to, you're supporting them with those things, but also teaching them these tools. It's amazing work, Laura.
Yeah, I found it incredibly rewarding and just really special, and I feel so blessed to be able to do this. And they say to choose a niche or specialty that talk about all day, every day. And I feel like it is something that I could talk about all day, every day.
That's amazing.
It's so powerful.
Well, how would people find you if they wanted to learn more about the work that you do?
Sure. They can find me on, I have a website, nursecoachalicio.com, or I'm on LinkedIn under Laura Alessio, and same with Facebook, Laura Alessio, or Instagram as Nurse Coach Alessio.
Okay.
Or my email, Laura@nursecoachalicio.
Fantastic.
In my case, I Facebook group if they're interested in the stress less with mindfulness group is in the description always. Or they can search for stress less with mindfulness.
Okay. I'll make sure that we have those links too.
Sure, of course.
I was thinking before we end, I was thinking about how would mindfulness help in a situation where somebody was like a high stress state, like somebody is trying to get their loved one to take a shower and they're resisting, or maybe again their loved one who's living with dementia might be getting amped up and agitated and irritated. What would be a good mindfulness practice in those moments when the stakes are really high? And then I'm going to add one more question.
Or are you asking for the caretaker or the person, or both?
For the caregiver, the caretaker,
Okay.
to like
Okay.
what can a caregiver do in that moment where their loved one is starting to amp up and they're trying to, prevent that from happening, but the stress is rising. And
Sure.
and then there was a second part of the question that I'm totally gonna forget. No, yeah, just go ahead and answer that. Sorry.
Okay. No, that's okay. Again, I don't want to be redundant, but just taking that deep breath and really helping them to, I know easier said than done, not get frustrated and have that patience. And if it means encouraging that client to take a deep breath with them, maybe it could help them, if the client's getting amped up, maybe taking a pause to both of them. And obviously you don't want them to get further amped up. So if it's something where you think that if ask them to take a deep breath with you and they're going to get further amped up, and it's case by case scenario. So knowing what they know about that client or, family member, if it just means taking a deep breath for themselves to help them stay calm, and because we all feed off each other's energy. So it's, the opportunity, I think, is there for them to both be able to take a deep breath and come to more of a calm state.
I love that. I was envisioning, because we know that the energy I bring into a situation is going to impact the situation, right? We know that in general. If I walk into a meeting and I'm irritated and, other people are going to feel that. And with our loved ones who are living with dementia, I talk about this a lot, and I don't know, there's no scientific term for it or anything, but we just see it. It's as if their senses are heightened, as the memory and the ability to use cognition and is diminished. It's almost as if the emotional sensitivities are heightened. And I see this so much again when I train caregivers in facilities. And, one of the main things we talk about is check in with your energy, because that is the biggest language. That's the biggest communicator of all. And so to your point, I could see if your loved one's getting agitated, or by tuning in to yourself, then that's going to have a bigger effect than we could ever realize with our loved one. Yeah. And
I know, to say, yeah, I was just gonna say, like as we were talking about before, like when to fit it in when we have these busy schedules. So like for the caretaker who's maybe going to multiple patients a day, I'm not sure if the majority of listeners like they're doing home visits or regardless, getting it to the place, their destination, like a minute early and just taking a minute before they get out of their car to take some deep breaths and bring themselves to a calm, present state, and that energy shift, like we were just talking about, right? They bring that energy in their space so that they can, help to calm themselves as much as possible and be able to bring in that calm energy. So just taking like a minute, or like Dr. Ruth was saying when she was presenting to us at the conference, how now she gets to work like 15 minutes early. I'm not, for the listeners, like, 1 minute is fine. If you do 5, great. But how she was saying she gets to work like 15 minutes early now and does her meditation.
Yeah. And what a difference that makes with her staff at the hospital.
Right.
Yeah.
For her, not only for herself, but for, yes, all of her colleagues.
Yeah. And to your point, caregivers, are so focused on caring outside of themselves. It's sometimes such a challenge to put themselves first or do something self-care related for themselves. And this is just the most perfect illustration of that, is that when you take that time to calm yourself, to center yourself, to practice a moment of mindfulness, reset your energy, that is the best thing that you can actually do for your loved one, for your patient, for your client, for whoever it is that you're entering the space with. And that is sacred work. I mean, that is powerful, bringing awareness to that magic that you actually possess, to be able to have an impact on the energy of the interaction or the space is huge. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, Laura, thank you so much for coming on. I love having conversation about this topic and getting to know you better. And
yes, likewise.
And
the opportunity.
You're calling all the way from Puerto Rico. And I know we've had the connection hasn't been perfect, but
No.
it's okay.
Sorry, that might be my end.
No, it's fine. We're so far away, I'm guessing. And I'm hoping my amazing team is gonna, make it easier for everybody to listen to. But this is such valuable information. So all right.
Yes, that was so great connecting with you, and thank you again. And yeah, I guess my last question just to end would be, for the listeners out there, when was the last time that you actually thought about and felt yourself like take a breath and focused on your actual breath? Because it's so easy to be just, we wake up and we start our day, and then throughout our day we never think about our breath unless
we hit the ground running.
Right.
Can we end? Can we end on a breath? Will you guide us?
Sure.
Thank you.
Sure. Yes, I'd love to. So I'll just invite everyone to comfortable. Go ahead and close your eyes. Obviously, only if it's safe for you, wherever you may be listening from. Don't close your eyes at the driving pace. I'll go ahead and invite you to just take a really deep breath in through the nose. And then exhaling through the mouth. Sometimes I like to have clients like visualize if there's a certain color and you want to bring into their body, like a bright white light, picturing that fresh oxygen coming in and lighting up your body. or not find a certain favorite color you like, or if there's a certain area of your body that maybe it's more loved right now, sending some extra energy and oxygen to that area. So that's that. That's it. Being able to incorporate responding or a couple of those breaths. Maybe when you're in an environment, maybe allows you to close your eyes. If not, I guess, doing that while you're driving. Keeping those eyes open and just feeling how your body feels after taking
I love it.
one or more deep inhales or exhales.
I immediately notice everything looks brighter.
Wow. Isn't it amazing?
Yes, yes. How easy it is.
All right.
Yeah.
We all have sexual. We all are capable.
Mm-hmm. Thank you so much, Laura.
Just remembering to do it too. I mean, myself included.
We could remind each other. Yes.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thank you again. And
Thank you, Laura.
yeah,
It's great to connect with you.
you too.